Hey guys, welcome back to EIGHT Copenhagen. If you're new here, this is the channel for everything Copenhagen, fun history, things to do, and just generally decoding the city for those who might not speak Danish. This month we've been focusing on spooky and paranormal stories from around Copenhagen, and for this video I'm going to share with you 8 ghost stories from the city. And if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you my own 2 personal ghost stories that have happened to me here in Denmark. So, let's begin. One summer in 2003, English singer Robbie Williams was on a European tour. On July 23rd, he arrived here in Copenhagen and checked into the fancy 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗡𝗚𝗟 at Copenhagen's most prestigious hotel, the 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗥𝗬𝗡𝗟. All was well until darkness fell. A couple hours after Robbie drifted off to sleep, doors inside the suite began opening and slamming shut by themselves, over and over. Terrified, Williams fled the room and demanded to be moved to a new hotel at once. 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗥𝗬𝗡𝗟 does have a well-known presence that many staff have encountered or felt throughout the years. During renovations of the over 260-year-old hotel in 2013, the Victor Borge suite was being worked on. A desk was temporarily moved inside the room, away from the window, and over against a wall to allow access for work to take place. Finishing their jobs for the evening, the workers left and the door to the suite was locked. When they arrived again in the morning, however, the desk was back by the window. A quick check of the room's keycard logs confirmed it. Nobody had been in the room all night. This little prank was seen as a mark of approval from the ghost of all the renovations in the hotel. However, by the sound of it, the ghost clearly isn't a Robbie Williams fan. Tivoli may be known as perhaps the happiest place in Denmark, certainly within Copenhagen, but there's also something darker that lurks underneath. The famous wooden roller coaster built in 1914 is home to some kind of paranormal presence. Employees are terrified of entering the inner workshop area underneath the ride, as they report cold gusts of wind and the lights often turning off by themselves. Some also report feeling overcome with a sudden nausea and needing to escape outside for a breath of fresh air. A top Danish paranormal investigation group conducted a study here where they found tons of orbs flying around, concentrated within this inner workshop area. I wonder who the spirits of Tivoli could be. Hotels seem to attract many reports of ghosts, and with guests constantly coming and going over the years, it's easy to imagine why. Palace Hotel, located on Copenhagen's famous Rådhusplads, opened in 1910. Since then, it's gained a reputation for several ghosts wandering throughout the building. Particularly, the reports are concentrated on the 2nd and 4th floors. On the 2nd floor, several guests have reported feeling unwelcome presences or even shadows in their rooms. And on the 4th floor, picture frames are said to mysteriously fly off the walls. According to employees, it's not uncommon for guests to ask to switch rooms due to paranormal activity here, while a few other brave guests specifically request haunted rooms in the hotel. This story is perhaps the best known amongst locals, as it spawned a popular Danish saying, 𝗤n er løs i Laksegade, or the devil is loose in Laksegade. In 1826, a terrifying haunting was reported in number 15. What would today probably be described as a poltergeist, several residents reported hearing scary demonic growls, window panes spontaneously burst, and objects were thrown from within the house out onto the streets below. The police were called to investigate, and rather than finding a mortal prankster behind it all, they instead discovered that a housewife in number 15 had found and had been reading a book on witchcraft. It was settled that this was, of course, the cause of the disturbances, and the book was destroyed. No further paranormal reports were made afterwards. The building was later torn down, but the phrase remains popular in Danish vernacular to this day. This one is quite a tragic story, as it relates to specific events that actually happened here. What is today 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏 in the oldest inner city area of Copenhagen, this large white building actually used to be 2 separate guest houses. In 1898, after extensive renovations of both buildings, they opened as 2 separate hotels, 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏 and 𝗘𝗩𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Hotel Hafnia completely burned out, and tragically, 35 people lost their lives. After the tragedy, the hotel owners understandably did not want to continue on in the hotel business and sold it to Hotel 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏, where it was then fixed up and became the building you see today. In spite of the extensive remodeling, still to this day on the old Hafnia side, it is said that running water and baby cries can be heard coming from one of the bathrooms. It was allegedly here that a married couple had sought refuge with their 2 young children, where unfortunately all were later found dead. Here's a Copenhagen address everyone can recognize, Nyhavn. While it's nowadays filled with brightly colored houses and tourists snapping selfies, it used to have a much different past prior to its gentrification in the 1970s. Up until then, all the way back to its inception in the 1670s, this was very much a place for sailors or people otherwise just passing through. Catering to this crowd, the harbor was therefore full of pubs and guest houses. One such guest house was located here at number 15. Legend has it that one night a miller was passing through Copenhagen with his girlfriend. They decided to stop here for the night, parking their horse and cart outside. Soon after entering the guest house, the miller and the innkeeper started gambling together with a pair of dice. The miller began losing, but he refused to give up. 3 whole days and nights go by with both of them locked in this intense gambling battle, and by the end of it, the miller had lost everything: his horse and cart, his mill, and even his girlfriend. Outraged and convinced the innkeeper had cheated him, the miller vowed to get his revenge. To his girlfriend, he mysteriously promised that she would hear from him every night. That evening, the miller hung himself up in the attic, right here in this building, and from then on, his spirit terrorized all those inside. Guests were driven out by ghostly moans coming from within the attic, loud bangs inside, and the sound of horse hooves on the cobblestones outside, when there were no horses to be found. Desperate for the disturbances to end, the innkeeper realized that the ghost was only quiet when the miller's girlfriend was up in the attic, so he made her sit up there until she died of fright. Nowadays, it's a fancy restaurant. No word on whether the current occupants hear anything strange coming from the attic. Located on Nørregade is a little theater called the 𝗙𝗏𝗘𝗟, dating from 1857. And this building too has a ghost. The story goes that a heartbroken young theater technician named Sophus hanged himself one evening on the main stage due to an unrequited love from one of the theater's actresses. And despite several renovations of the theater over the years, both employees and theatergoers alike still report seeing full apparitions of the young man working around the building. Greenlandic people are known to be very spiritual, and you can imagine this must make them more perceptive to paranormal happenings around them. And perhaps this is why the Greenlandic House, which is a culture house / Greenlandic community center in Copenhagen, has found several ghosts within their walls. Numerous employees over the years have reported both seeing and hearing spirits, and just generally not feeling completely alone, even if no one is physically near them. One story goes that 2 workers were alone in the building late one evening. Getting ready to lock up for the night, the building's alarm started going off and kept starting up again even when they switched it off. Calling the alarm company, the technician reported that it was due to movement occurring on the landing by the stairs, going down to the basement. The employees went to look, but the area was completely empty. Then, on the second floor some years ago, a cleaning lady was scrubbing the floors on her hands and knees. She suddenly felt a hand roughly jab her shoulder 3 times, so she turned around to see who it was. There was no one there. In fact, there was no one else on the entire floor with her at the time. People have also reported seeing an apparition of a lady in a red dress, speculated to be the wife of the building's first owner, who died here in the 1800s. There's also been lights seen whizzing around the rooms, even in broad daylight, and people feeling like someone is standing very close to them when nobody is there. So there were 8 terrifying hauntings, all from Copenhagen. And now I'm going to share with you my own personal ghost stories. Though I must admit, neither of them took place in Copenhagen, but they did take place in Denmark, so I'm going to share them anyway. Okay, so my first story takes place in Odense, around, I'd say like summer 2010 or so. My husband and I were living with my in-laws at their house, and they had gone up to their summer house, so we had the house completely to ourselves. And it was the middle of the day. I just remember it was a nice warm summer day. My husband was out painting. He had like the easel, the canvas, everything, doing like a big painting out in the backyard. And I decided to take a nap. So it's a 2-story house. I was up on the 2nd floor in the bedroom, and I was lying down, and you know when you're not quite, you're just like dozing, you're not like actually asleep. So I was lying there with my eyes closed, and then I heard the door open to the bedroom because I had closed it. The door opens, and I hear someone walk over to the side of the bed, and the bed, it was our old, because we had just moved out of our apartment and we were like in between moves, so that's why we were staying at our in-laws. It was literally just our old mattress that was on the floor. So I felt someone crouch all the way down over it, like to get to me on the mattress on the floor. I felt like the bed, like as if someone was leaning on it, like pressed down to like reach over to me. And then I felt, my eyes are closed this whole time. And of course, I'm assuming it's my husband because he's the only one there at home. I felt someone come up really close to me as if they're about to give me a kiss on the cheek. Just like a little sweet, like, oh, she's sleeping, let me give her a little kiss on the cheek. Except it gets there. And you know when you can feel someone, like you feel the warmth, you feel their breath almost, like I felt someone was there. But then he was just like lingering there for a really long time. And then I started to get annoyed because I was like, is he messing with me? Like putting his face like really close up to mine, but like not actually doing anything, just to kind of like get a reaction out of me. So I think I hadn't fallen asleep at that point, so I was just like, I'm still gonna try and sleep. I'm just gonna ignore him and not acknowledge him at all. He's not gonna get a reaction out of me. So I just ignore him, continue with my eyes closed, and eventually he gets up, leaves the room, I hear the door close again. After 5-10 minutes, I'm just so like, I don't know, I'm just like, oh, it's hot, I can't sleep, I'm just so bothered. And then my husband had come in and like messed with me, so I was just kind of like, oh. So I go outside and confront him, and like, what did you do that for? Were you trying to give me a kiss, or like, what? Why were you being weird? And you know when someone looks at you and they just have like no idea what you're talking about, like not even. Like, I think I can, my husband's a pretty bad liar. I think I can tell when he's lying. He was not lying. He had no clue. Like, I had to run through, and then you came in the room. I heard the door open, and he's like, I've been painting out here the whole time. Like, and he was, in fact, like, right in the middle of, like, with all his paints and his brushes and everything. And, yeah, I mean, I have no choice but to believe him. I don't see why he would even do that as a prank. That's not really, like, a kind of prank that he would do anyway. I don't think I really believe in ghosts. I think when you die, and that's kind of it. But that's just something that I can't explain. Like, I felt it. I wasn't asleep. I had just lied down, like, ready to doze off. And I felt both the bed impression and then also something physical right next to me. So, I don't know. Make of that what you will. And the second story happened it was at my sister-in-law's place, and it was for, what was it for? It was some big family gathering, so there was lots of people in her house, and she's got like, She has a nice big house, so she can accommodate everybody, and yeah, there's a couple of bathrooms that people can use and all that. So I had gone to one of the bathrooms, everyone else was sat down having a meal. And this is of course a family event where there's kids, there's adults, there's loads of people. So I go to the bathroom, finish up, and then just as I'm drying my hands and I'm about to go outside, I hear a woman's voice outside the door, which is like the hallway, the entrance hallway, say "nej," and for non-Danish speakers that just means no, so like no. It didn't sound like, it just sounded like what I thought, what I pictured in my head, what I thought it was like a mother telling one of her kids like "nej," they motivate, like you're not allowed. So I didn't think anything of it, turned off the light, went out, but then there was no one there, like in the vicinity at all, like where I was, there was just no one there. And so I walk, and it's a good walk back to the area where the seating is, because they've got like a little separate like guest house type thing where they can have it. And so I walk back to where everyone's sitting, and it's a good, like I would see someone on my way there if anyone was there, I would see them basically. Get back there and literally every seat is filled, everyone's having their dinner, it's like right in the middle of the meal. And I'm just thinking, okay, like I know I just heard something. No, I just heard a woman say no. And this house, if a house is going to be haunted, it would be this house. It's an old 𝗘𝗪𝗘𝗏𝗧𝗏, which is like a, what do you call it, vicarage. It's an old vicarage. Really nice, beautiful old building, really nice grounds. But it's old, and I'm sure people have died there. If they haven't died there, there's a cemetery right next door with like the whole Danish church, everything is right next door. So yeah, those are my 2 ghost stories that have happened here in Denmark, which I haven't actually experienced any ghost stories outside of Denmark. They seem to just happen to me here. And again, like I say, I don't really believe in ghosts, but those are 2 things that have just like stuck with me and that I can't personally explain. Yeah, so if there are ghosts, that's kind of my brush with them, I guess you'd say. Thanks so much for watching. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, I hope this was a fun little video for you to watch anyway. I really wanted to do a video on this because there's no other videos like it, and when I was doing my research, pretty much all of it was in Danish, so I wanted to make these stories available to English speakers as well. So if you know someone who might like this video, make sure you share the link. I'd love to hear if you have any ghost stories or unexplained mysteries that have happened to you. No story is too silly, so let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.